Breaking a story is gross. It's gross, sweaty work, and it's only fun if it's going well, and it's only going well about 5% of the time. As a result, a lot of cool story ideas get left unmade. But with the Story Clock Workbook, you can break open your story ideas to quickly find an organic narrative structure, mining your ideas, resources, and inspiration for every last ounce of potential. Whether you're looking to write a screenplay, novel, sermon, wedding toast, ransom note, even a podcast ad, the Story Clock Workbook can help you get your story ideas out of your head alive. Learn more about how you can make writing less gross at plotdevices.co and get 20% off your first order by using the code GAMESHOW at checkout. It's love at first sight tends to be, I think, the way these things start, isn't it? Like
Totally. Like they're soulmates from the start.
It's real funny imagining like the quintessential alien with like the curved like massive head and the huge eyes. That's the love at first sight that happens between
and it's like
girl.
they see each other and they're immediately meant to be together. And it's like this true love at first sight. Hey everyone, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Seth.
And welcome back to the Writer's Room Game Show. It's the podcast where every week we generate an original feature film idea from scratch in under 60 minutes, working from a set of random prompts given to us by a big Hollywood studio.
At the beginning of every episode, the studio, which is really just an iPhone shortcut, assigns us, the contestants, a new project consisting of 4 components: the genre, the tone, the demographic, and a studio mandate, which is basically just a random thing that the studio is requiring.
We then have 1 hour to develop a feature film idea that fits the assigned criteria, with surprise roadblocks along the way.
At the end of the episode, we'll focus group the idea with one of our talented filmmaker friends and ask them actual dumb focus group questions. If they answer positively, we win and roll around in money for 8 hours.
If they answer negatively, we'll quit screenwriting altogether and then do it again next week. And that's about it.
That's it.
Seth, how are you feeling, man? We just released our first episode yesterday.
Man, it's very exciting, very thrilling to have this the show out there, and shocking the number of people who have listened to it all the way through.
It really is.
I'm really happy. One of which, I got a text from my mother just berating me for
that text is so good.
Essentially, I'm going to read it here in the podcast. It's important. I'll read part of it.
Please do.
I am listening to your podcast, and I'm shouting at you about Hallmark movies. Christmas? No! All caps. Hallmark movies are not all romances. Mysteries, cooking shows, all seasons. You don't know about Hallmark wedding movies? You guys, can you hear me shouting at you? Hallmark movies do have to be good. Why would you make a mediocre movie? Exploding heads emoji, which... in hindsight, her mind isn't blown in this situation. That must be what she's doing to me. Your podcast should include phoning an expert to learn about your genre. Like me. Don't be snobs. In defense of Hallmark fans everywhere, yours sincerely, Mom. P.S. I like your podcast.
I love it. That's the best review we could ever get. If we're making people
really is.
scream
you did everything
at their
wrong,
phones,
and I loved it.
We've actually had multiple people message us about them screaming at their phones different things while they listen to this. There's some people that are saying, oh, I know what that ornament would do, or I know what this story element. So it's really great that it's
I'm not surprised.
Eliciting, even if it's anger, it's eliciting a response.
Yeah, and that's really all you want from a podcast
yes.
is to elicit complete anger from people.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good.
That's why I think this
about
thing
it.
would be so fun to do live, right?
Oh,
if we
totally.
did this thing like on stage,
if there's anybody
we really
out
should
there,
plan something like that.
Hire us to come to your conference or to your event.
Yeah.
And we'll come do a Writer's Room Game Show live. We'll have
we'll be on your stage. We'll do a Writer's Room Game Show live. We'll have people submit prompts ahead of time, or maybe in the show, and we'll.
What I think.
Oh man, we'll throw it to the audience for random mandates.
Yes, I think we need a celebrity sort of host person to like spin a wheel that has a genre or a studio mandate, and have a actually be like a game show.
And call in like a famous focus group person, like one of our famous friends.
I love it.
On stage is a big surprise.
I love it, man.
I think we should do it.
Oh. Who do you think that is, Seth?
Good.
Let me answer.
It's the devil himself, Ryan.
Hello? Oh, hey, Mom. No, hey, I needed to keep this line clear. The studio's about to call. Okay. It's just my mom.
Oh, okay. Another 20 minutes goes by.
That must be the studio. Let me get it. Hello? Oh, hi studio. How's it going? Uh-huh. Oh, you got it. Another assignment? Okay. Well, we can't wait to see it. All right. Thanks. Bye. Did you get it by chance?
Yeah, I just opened my email. All right, so this
You're
week...
You're laughing. I don't know if that's good or
bad.
bad.
I'm laughing. It kind of answers your... So at the end of last episode, Ryan said, yesterday we're texting, and tell the people what you said.
Well, I just said, I'd love to get something, a real heavy genre like sci-fi or Western, just because I'd been wanting to... We haven't got that in our 5 or 6, recordings so far. So
all our practice episodes were like indie comedy, James L. Brooks dramedy,
Hallmark was out there, but
so our genre today, the studio is looking for a romance picture.
Ooh, okay.
And
another romance. We've gotten that a lot. Okay.
Very specifically romance. The tone, however, they would like to be playful, and the target audience. This is the one where I think you'll be happy. The target audience, they're hoping to appeal to fans of Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Okay. And, however, they are mandating that... So the studio wants people talking about this movie, something shocking. Maybe it's a surprising character death. Maybe it's whatever. Very specific direction from the studio.
Okay.
The Writers Room Game Show has begun.
I think that's our timer starting.
I haven't heard any of these sounds yet. Sorry. That was... I just got done making fun of the Zoom voice, which tells on you for recording things. Ryan has begun recording.
Oh, man. Okay.
He tried to not tell you.
Okay, so romance picture that is, what was it, Playful for fans of Spielberg?
Yeah.
And
Playful, fans of Spielberg.
It needs to have a shocking... revelation at some point, which to me,
maybe not revelation. They just want a really
Shyamalan style.
They want people talking about this movie is really the thing. Okay. I think they want a Game of Thrones type moment that everyone will.
Yeah, water cooler moment.
Everyone will be like, yeah, water cooler moment. There it is. That's the term we were looking for.
And this is actually kind of tough because this is our broadest thing I think that we've had so far, and that it just romance. For fans of Spielberg. So maybe, I don't know if we start with our...
With Always? I think we just start with Always and just make it playful and kill somebody.
Water cooler moment in our romance movie. I love Me and You. Can you imagine in any other scenario outside of this podcast if I hit you up and I was like, hey, so I'd really love to write a romance movie that's playful. Do you want to help me write this?
Well, then any of us would use the word playful after the word romance. There has to be a pause and there's a word count that's required between those two words.
Oh man, yeah. So,
or that either of us would be like, "Hey, so I'm wanting to write. I think we should write something." And the comp we'd throw to each other was Always.
Oh man, because that's the only
Spielberg's most lauded
big romantic Spielberg movie.
That's the first one I think of. I mean, The Terminal has elements of romance. Not really. No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. It just has that like dinner with Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Here's our question.
They go in.
So something that I feel like this would be cheating to genre, but there is always the you don't have to. Romance doesn't always have to be super like romantic. It could be almost like. Well, probably actually never. I was thinking like bromance movies, because then you could
tell your wife I'm sorry. Just tell her that our hearts go out to her.
No, I'm just for some reason the standard like romance genre is just one that I'm not super. Of course we've watched those, but
yeah, here we are again. Well,
do we cheat this? Okay. Even though there's also rom-com in our generator, can we cheat this and do more of like a? Can
we also take a screenshot? This is for the podcast medium, but I am unable to do this without.
I just realized
both of us have our hands up on our head, and I wish we had a way to take a screenshot of it without.
Oh man, that's so good! I just
compromising.
Realized. So yeah, do we cheat this and go like rom-com, or do we go strict like? No, we're doing like a dramatic romance.
Let's lean into it, man. Romance, dude. Like we did rom-com last week. We got to do.
That's true.
hardcore romance. And what I mean by that is, like, The Notebook is the first thing I think of, which I haven't seen all the way through, but I've seen plenty of clips and screenshots of.
All the way through.
I feel like I've seen it just because I've seen screenshots. Yeah. But there's also, oh man, come on, romance. Let's Google romance movies.
I did the exact same thing just now. For some reason, my wife and I, every Valentine's Day, we watch Wild at Heart. Do you know the David Lynch movie?
Did yours serve up Let Him Go, but starring Kevin Costner?
Yes, 2020 release Let Him Go.
Had no idea that was romance. Sorry, all right.
But have you seen Wild at Heart, the David Lynch movie? It's got Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern.
I haven't. Have we released the episode yet where we discovered I had never seen a movie in my entire life?
I don't think we have, but the listeners will discover over the next few weeks.
They will inevitably discover it, but I have no idea.
There's so many movies
you've
seen that I haven't seen. I just bring up apparently the specific ones you haven't seen. But we really love that movie, and it's very much a melodrama, and it's like kind of wild, and it's really out there. So I'm not afraid of going, melodrama on this romance picture that we're about to develop. But I will say that I'm very excited to get this wildcard mandate here in a little bit to see what it can spur for us in terms of story.
Yeah, so we just want to just kill time until the halfway point, and then see what the wild card says.
What do we?
Hang on. So
it might be good to start with like a setting or where. Or what?
Yes. Well, I think also fans of Spielberg. So when we talk about Spielberg, we talk about unfortunately we have to be unfair to the man, and essentially define him by his glory days, define him by the 1980s to 80s, early 90s, and a little bit of 70s. 70s. You're right. It's late 70s. So it's Jaws. It's that stretch from Jaws all the way till, I'd say, not even Jurassic. Jurassic, he was already into his, he was moving into his Oscar phase because he had just done Always. He had done Hook, but that was still him going back and doing what he does best. But Color Purple and Empire of the Sun was when so whatever was right before Empire of the Sun.
Schindler's List was right before Jurassic Park 2, right? Or right in the middle of it.
He was in the middle of it because he took a long break and came back to Lost World and realized while on Lost World that he was unhappy. And I believe I've heard rumors that David Koepp actually directed a large part of that movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's true. I mean, there's a lot of really great stuff in there.
Not the cliff scene with the RV. That's very Spielberg.
Very Spielberg. I did hear he directed that scene from. I'm saying this on a podcast and it could all be wrong. And if I'm wrong, Spielberg, tell us. Tell us in person.
I'm hoping there's someone who's listening to this that has worked on the Lost World that can confirm or deny this stuff.
They can confirm what I'm about to say, which is that I heard he directed that sequence and others from his office remotely, which is on the Universal lot. So it's not that big of a deal. And honestly, I get it. It sucks for the actors, but at the same time, I'd get it if he did.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. But the Spielberg golden era that has that, how would you I'm trying to think of an adjective that would...
Aliens. It has that aliens feel to it. Basically, it just has aliens in it. So honestly, that's where I was going with this, is that we really need to tell a Fault in Our Stars type story with aliens. That show Roswell, or which I think they rebooted.
I've never seen.
I remember Roswell
I've never
vaguely because it was on after
Seth.
Buffy.
I've seen movies. I've never seen shows.
So this is valuable. All right. A human needs to fall in love with an alien that looks like a human, and it's like Twilight. Like Twilight with aliens.
That's the twist. That's the big twist. Is the shocking moment is you find out that they're an alien.
No, the shocking moment's gonna be someone's gonna die. We're gonna kill somebody, and we're gonna kill someone hard. But I think look at Twilight, for example. I think it's Twilight with, instead of vampires, it's aliens. Some character is an alien, and
it's I've never seen a single Twilight movie. I've just seen scenes that people post as memes on the internet.
Why do we keep getting genres we've never watched? This show is gonna go downhill so fast. Okay,
no, I love it.
Major factors of romance: love, people falling in love.
Yes,
and then. What's going to happen, of course? Oh, well, they can't be together. Well, actually,
Well, what if I think
no.
romance? I feel like too. Well, maybe I'm thinking of rom-com, but what I really love in a lot of these romance movies is when two people don't like each other and then they start to fall for each other. But I don't know if that's like a traditional romance trope as well.
No, I know. I don't either. God, because
you could do that and then just take a big genre swing and make it sort of the alien part. This is not a great idea. But if she is like, think of like Close Encounters, you have like the people that are there working on site, like to communicate with the aliens. Like if she's like, almost like imagine that scene and she's one of the people there and an alien comes and turns into a human and they start to have a relationship. I don't know. It's not the greatest idea. I'm just trying to think of how to really play up the Spielberg angle and not make her.
Well, when you say Close Encounters, the thing I think of is that we don't see aliens until the very end. Where only the aliens are from afar, and they are like, and which makes me think of like Sleepless in Seattle, where you have two people that are falling in love from far away and never meeting.
Yes.
Is there like a Sleepless in Seattle that we can do do the Close Encounters way? Where you don't meet one of the characters ever until the end of the film. Here's the kind of the trope, by the way. I feel like romantic comedy. If you split it into four parts, it's like two people who don't know each other, then hate each other, then they hurt each other, and then they love each other.
Yeah, classic. Which I think the perfect example of that is You've Got Mail, which I also did a plot device breakdown on, which like fit that four-act structure like perfectly.
Oh yeah, put that in the show notes because you did that really well.
Okay, yeah, people go look at this article I read or I
wrote.
Go
read Polly's thing.
Sorry, I'm writing this down.
I love podcasts where two guys sit in their own rooms and think and don't say anything.
Think silently. The amount of dead space we're cutting out of this podcast. In your mind, with this alien thing. Hopefully you can't hear the police sirens that are going crazy in my background right now. But in your mind, the alien thing, do you imagine this? Let's say this woman is our protagonist and this alien man is the person she falls in love with. Do you imagine she knows he's an alien pretty like off the bat?
Yes, because
and that's something that keeps them apart. Like they can't be together because
I think the thing about a lot of romance films is that it's about two people who already love each other who can't be together. I think maybe this is me just spitballing. I think like there's two like what you tend to see in romantic comedies are two characters. This is me. I'm going to say this as if it's fact, even though it's completely being pulled out of my butt. Which is that romantic comedies are two people who don't want to be together, forced to be together, and falling in love in the process. And I feel like a lot of more dramatic romance films are about two people who want nothing more than to be together, who only want each other.
Romeo and Juliet.
That's it. And can't be. And it's about all the reasons why they can't be together. Because one of them's a vampire and the other one's a human. Because there's one of them is at war and the other one is not.
I like that a lot.
Because
I think making that distinction is really helpful, especially not just playing up rom-com tropes, which is probably what comes more naturally to me and you.
Yeah. It is. So like thinking about like a character, I guess what you want then is like if you have this main character, so we have a main human character. My mind, I immediately imagine that's the like female character. And also because, and I'm going to unpack why maybe. Maybe I'm thinking that because one, that tends to be like Twilight and any films that I'm thinking of, like the girl tends to be the protagonist of the story. Maybe that's because the audience of a movie like this is generally overwhelmingly female, so they would want, Ghost, for example, by the way, I watched for the first time recently.
I still haven't seen Ghost.
Garbage. The movie is utter garbage. Let me tell you also, because Demi Moore does nothing in the whole movie. It is all about Swayze. It is just a Swayze show, front to start, and it is dumb. Except Whoopi rules. Whoopi totally earned her Oscar.
Still sad we haven't got her as the studio mandate yet.
I know. We joked about it, but we haven't actually gotten the mandate yet. But what I'm getting at, like, so anyway, like having I'm gonna go with the female lead, even though maybe we can flop that, but I'm gonna just refer to this character as her from here on out. So our protagonist, she needs to be someone who seems either misunderstood or unhappy or dissatisfied in her current life like situation, whether she has, it's like whether she's living under the stairs at the Dursley's house or she's like that kind of situation. And then can we take an alien, like in the same way that like Mel Gibson would just walk outside one day and see his crops are all like pressed down. Like, are there ways to then have signs show up in her life that someone is looking out for her or someone is whatever? Right?
Oh,
right?
Man. That's so funny, dude. I think that's man, I love that I haven't done any work this entire podcast.
Because I haven't let you talk. That's really why.
No, I love the idea. I think playing up the sort of classic alien-ness of it all, and I think that is really fun, and you could play that up in a very dramatic fashion. And I like the idea of if there is signs or something, I really want there to be this meet cute, or like how do they meet? But I think having these her fall in love with this alien through these
love at first sight tends to be, I think, the way these things start, isn't it? Like
totally, like they're soulmates from the start.
It's real funny imagining like the quintessential alien with like the curved like massive head and the huge eyes. That's the love at first sight that happens between.
Yes. And it's like
girl.
they see each other and they're immediately meant to be together. And it's like this true love at first sight. It's this big head alien. But
or it's a xenomorph.
I love the idea of these crop circles, though, almost like as a love letter kind of thing, where he's leaving her these huge crop circles that she like looks on the TV, and there's like a news report about these crop circles. It's a mess.
It's a heart with their initials in it.
Yes, like playing just really funny. Like to other people, it's very scary. Like how could this happen? It's it's a freak event, but to her, since she knows the alien and they're in love, it's this romantic gesture.
So it should be something. I don't know if the heart is really funny to me. If we were making a parody here, like,
but it can be something. Yeah, if we want to just go full on meta, like this is obviously ridiculous. We can go, but it could be something meaningful to their relationship. If it's like
some meaningful inside joke essentially.
But that's just a little piece. Them meeting, I don't know if he should take like the form of a human. And
I think he should be. I think he should look like a human. I think it's the twilight of it all.
Yeah, and maybe they're just
otherwise we're doing Shape of Water, which I don't feel prepared to write. You know what I mean?
Especially in 45 minutes.
Yeah. Which Guillermo del Toro classically did, of course. Which honestly, he's Guillermo del Toro. Neither of us are Guillermo del Toro.
I wouldn't be surprised if that actually happened.
No.
Wakes up one morning and writes the whole thing. But I mean, if he takes the form of a human and they're just he can reveal himself to be an alien after they've already been, together for a little bit, and it could be something a lot more subtle, like his eyes glow, or like, I think Twilight, isn't it like he's a vampire and his skin sparkles in the sunlight or something, which is so ridiculous. But
it is so ridiculous. I guess, so does he save her life? I feel like these are the list of things that he could do that would be meaningful, that would make her, that would just jumpstart her being interested in him.
Yeah, there's going to be something different about him.
Saves her life, or does something in line with her need, with something she. So where are we? Should we set this in like Pennsylvania, like farmland, or should we set it in the desert? Oh, or in the desert? We're now going to just
outside of Roswell,
back our way into the Roswell show. But the desert is pretty cool. I don't know if we do like the crop circles, or if we do.
No, it could be something else. But it could be just something that involves his alien powers somehow. But I think, and I think there's a way. I feel like there would be a way to, if he did save her from something, maybe there can be something where he had to use some sort of ability he had as an alien to help aid that So that sort of brings them together, but it's also the thing that is going to bring them apart at the end, like have some sort of symbolism in that way.
Do you know a very quick way to get two people in love and for the audience to care about their love?
No, what's that?
You have them grow up together.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You just have you have their meeting as kids and they're best friends, and then we jump ahead to adults. Now I'm about to pitch you an incredibly stupid idea, but I just remembered
don't tell me this is another
tone
romantic thing that starts in a montage.
No. But our tone is playful,
That's
right?
true.
I just
yes,
remembered
I forget
this.
about that. Yes.
So I kind of loved, honestly, the heart with the names in it as the crop circles.
Yes,
Let's put a pin in that because it is really funny.
Okay, so yeah,
and we have a playful tone.
We don't have to go like melodrama or romance. Like this is supposed to be fun and playful.
No, but we can still we still need to, I think, be meaningful, obviously, with it. But we definitely should avoid the romantic comedy tropes.
Agreed.
And I think we found that. We want it to be two people who want to be together and can't be. And that is
forbidden love.
Yes. So, what if could we do something where, and I'm going to pitch you, this is very bad. There's so many bad versions of this, but I think it might help us. She's not allowed to be with him because everyone knows he's an alien. Well, could it be like she is the daughter of a military general who runs Groom Lake, or is he this child that felt like this Krypton type child who felt like the survivor of the Roswell crash? If there was the Roswell crash and there was the parents both died, but
there's your big Spielberg opening is the middle of the desert at night, an alien ship crashes and it's this sad thing, and the little child makes it and he's alive, and then that's our intro. Creates curiosity. You've got the John Williams score playing. I kind of really like that, and maybe
and that score goes like this: bum 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 bum. Jumping in here real quick to tell you all about the Story Clock Workbook from Plot Devices. The Story Clock Workbook was built for getting your story ideas out of your head alive. Okay, here's the actual deal with this ad. Most people, myself included, try to skip these little mid-roll sponsor breaks by hitting that skip ahead 30 seconds button that's built into most podcast apps, but you didn't. You said to yourself, Chrissy, don't hit that skip button. Seth Worley is talking, and you respect him. And I heard you, Chrissy. That's why I'm going to reward it with a secret code to get 25% off your first order of the Story Clock Workbook. Just enter code THANKSCHRISSY, THANKSCHRISSY, at checkout. Now remember, this code is just for you and not for those other people who skipped ahead to this moment right here. Learn more about how you can use the Story Clock Workbook to develop your story ideas at plotdevices.co. Thanks, Chrissy. I mean, everyone. Well, we're kind of getting to Pirates of the Caribbean territory here with Will Turner and how he was found.
Dude, I forget about that.
So the beginning of Pirates of the Caribbean, is young Elizabeth Turner,
That's right.
I think was her name.
That's right. Yeah.
Young Elizabeth, and she sees, they find Will floating on, this boy floating on a plank of wood or whatever, and save him, and then they see this ship that's been destroyed. And they assume the boy is from that ship, but he's actually, that's it. That's how you do it. You have this alien ship crash into a drive-in theater or something,
Totally.
and this boy they find, and you think this boy is a human survivor of the human casualties of this event.
Yeah. Love that. But
it's
they're he's an orphan.
not.
We need to take him in. He ends up with a family in the town. They meet as kids. They're best friends, eventually fall in love, and then
and she knows that he has really weird powers, and she keeps him from
it'd be so
getting
fun
in
to play
trouble
up for a while. At the beginning, just play them up as kids, the whole first. Am I thinking of Forrest Gump?
and Jenny.
Yeah.
He taught me how to dangle. Yeah.
That's I actually really really love that, and especially the drive-in movie, because that's instantly Spielberg-esque.
Because you want to be watching a movie an alien movie, and you want Men in Black style. You want to hear something. Everyone's watching it like a sci-fi B movie on the screen. Mm-hmm. This is the most Spielberg thing I've ever thought of, and then they hear extra sound, an extra rumbling, and and somebody's like, that's part of the movie. And then you have they're getting out of their cars, out of their old, Rockwellian cars. Mm-hmm. And then somebody sees
what's that?
A blip of light beyond the screen, and then it disappears. And then right when there's a, not too hacky, it doesn't go right through where the ship is, but right as there's a ship flying through on screen, one busts through the screen and just plows down through this. Right there.
Oh, that's the time.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
I don't know what that means. Ryan's mom's calling again. Hi, Mrs. Polly.
Hello? Oh, yes. No, it's going well. Yeah, we got some great ideas. We're really excited.
Oh, it's my mom calling because
right.
he's talking very seriously.
Okay, we'll be looking out for it. Thanks. It was the studio. Told them we had some great stuff going on, but they said they want to throw another idea at us, so said they email us. It's weird that I never get the emails. They call me, but they email you. It's such a weird system they have in the studio.
That is weird. Okay, well, the mandate that we got was, could it be a fresh take on a superhero film? I don't know. I'm just spitballing. That's what the executive just emailed us.
Romantic superhero film.
We're kind of already there. It doesn't really help us. We're already in that direction.
I guess
that's in the direction we're going.
Take, this is an alien superhero. It's basically the same thing these days. That's what Superman is. Kal-El. He's an alien from Krypton.
So we'll come back to the superhero thing, because I feel okay. We don't need to focus too much on that, because I feel like I said before, it's in the direction we're going. Yeah. So let's talk about this. So this opening is actually really cool.
Oh yeah, I'm into it.
If that ship plows through the screen, I actually have a very specific vision for this. The vision plows right as the ship comes to the screen. Before we get a look at what it is, we can react to something, because I don't want to see this thing plow into a bunch of people's cars. I'm fine with alluding to it.
Yeah.
So we do some Spielberg thing where we react to somebody, either some TV screen somewhere or some I'm not sure. Maybe we're in the projection booth or something, and we see the film playing out on the glass while we see the
explosion,
the chaos happening beyond it. And
it's got to be a big classical Spielberg wonder that pans over, rack focuses. Yeah.
And then, and really that flickering of the film reel plays almost like we drown out the sound with that thing, and then we escalate it up to woo pop, some the aftermath and
ambulance,
everything,
police cars, etc.
And do we show
I think we need to show him escaping the wreckage. And there needs to be some sort of quick, Mama.
Well,
I think there needs to
get real dark.
There needs to be some fast. Sort of transition, seeing him transition from one form to a human form, so that we can immediately know, okay, there's something different about this character that's not because I think it'd be nice to know that he's an alien before, from the start.
But my only fear is that she's going to fall in love with someone who is.
People will think it's sinister.
I don't want anything about him to be deceptive. Because part of me thinks it would be cool to see a hand, some amorphous thing hit the dirt, and then we just see it evolve into a human hand because that's what it's doing. But I'm just hey, there's always going to be the question of what it's really supposed to look like.
Totally. I think, maybe there's a different way to show that. Because, I don't want it to seem sinister, but I also want it to be where... I don't want the audience to be afraid of that form, but I want them to he's a good kid. We can see from the start.
What if somebody finds him he's really little? What if you have? This is still very Superman-y, but I do like the idea of somebody in authority finding this kid and protecting this kid instead of
totally
basically not telling anyone, choosing to not tell anyone that.
Well, what if,
especially if this person is a military general?
What if instead of her dad being a military general or police, what if the person who takes him in is the police or military general kind of person?
Yeah.
We can work in, maybe they've lost a child. It still needs to be playful, of course, but maybe something in their past they've lost a child, or now it's becoming Hopper from Stranger Things. But they take in,
or they've never been able to have kids. You know,
something
this
like
backstory of he and his wife have never been able to have kids, and
it gives him a reason to want to take in this child. Maybe
we want to see that the parents basically somebody at the drive-through. Oh, could we hint at these characters like backstory with like trying to have a kid or something? They're at the drive-in movie. They can't focus on the movie. They're talking and they're just telling each other emotional exposition, or alluding to it, right?
Yeah.
And then they get to
that can be where the movie starts too. Just sort of just in their car and the conversation before we get the big action set piece.
And then the crash happens, and I'm thinking the door is just hanging open, like so it's unavoidable. It's like it doesn't take a lot of exploration. It's just hanging open, and there's like we show two dead bodies, like, but then a kid. Like somehow we basically show two dead bodies and we find the kid or the baby or something, and then I do like them being military though, because it's great if he's like in on it and lying or hiding the kid.
Yeah, he definitely needs to know about it and is keeping it away because he loves this kid and has this is his chance to be a father. I like him being in on it and having to. And maybe that can be something that goes with the fact that it's it's sort of like forbidden love. Maybe it's becoming a little less playful, but maybe he's trying to keep his kid safe and doesn't want him to get wrapped up in a romantic relationship, and that's part of why it's forbidden. Like he's like, why can't I have a relationship like everyone else? He's like, you're not like everybody else. It's kind of tropey, but. To me, that
instead of Clark Kent not being able to, save people, he's not able to have a girlfriend. And
I don't know how that would work in terms of the story world. Like, why can't he just have a girlfriend? But
I don't know. I mean, that is kind of interesting because then we can play up the whole, like, why am I not allowed to date until I'm so and so? Why am I not allowed to, etc. Because you're a friggin' alien kid. And because we don't want you like creating alien human hybrids by accident out there and people finding out. Could there be, I'm kind of doubling up characters, but what if the parents weren't army people? What if they like, pretended the kid was theirs, and then as the military showed up, there was one, I like the idea of like a general or like not a general, but someone in the military, like putting two and two together and then not saying anything. Mm-hmm. And that character can come around again later. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. But let's get back to these.
We've got a long setup.
Our romance.
So,
we've got a lot of setup. But okay. So he's raised by someone in the town.
Or they're rocking the baby, driving home, be like, one day he's gonna want a girlfriend. Boom. Cut to the titles.
Oh man,
alien love.
That's when they cut the titles, not the big explosion and like big moment.
Yeah. They cut the title. He's gonna have a girlfriend. Like
they let it drag on.
Then we do like the womp womp.
It's a romantic movie, so we got to let people know that's the important part.
Oh, also romance.
But anyway, so he's raised by this these loving parents who really want to be parents. They meet in school, or there's some sort of fun Forrest Gump-esque situation where they meet and they become best friends, and they turn from friends to lovers as they become adults. I feel like that's a classic romance trope.
Yeah, our prologue isn't over because we haven't brought her. I feel like our prologue is not over until she enters the picture. So is there a way? We do not want her to like... He's not adopted into her family. That goes unsaid.
No, we're not doing
like that's weird.
Yes, 100%. I guess.
But how can we organically have her present in the prologue?
Especially
either throughout or at the end of it.
Yeah, and I don't want her to become an afterthought. I feel like they're both the dual protagonists. I don't want it to just be about our superhero or alien, person. So she probably should be there at the start, at least somewhere in that scene. What if it's a thing? If it's like a double date or something with it's the. I'm just throwing out ideas. These aren't great ideas, but if it's the new parents and they're on a double date with this their other friends who do have a child, and she's, they're like good family friends. I feel like that's a classic,
Well, there's also the version where I just realized I've been thinking about ideas this whole time on this audio podcast that I should just be saying them out loud. There's also there's a version where it's like two couples on a double date. They couldn't get a babysitter. Backed out last minute, but they came to the movie anyway. Or there's a version where the little girl, she finds this kid and they're up the same age, and then somebody shows up and is like, kids, run, get out of here, or something. Like, go, Super 8, I have a gun. Yeah. I'm in a truck. And then he like grows up in the woods, Pete's Dragon style. That's weird.
I definitely like the parents raising him better, because that makes more. I don't know. I guess he could grow up there. It'd just be hard for her to keep it a secret for her entire childhood and teenage years. That there's, she's hanging out with this boy in the
feral
forest.
Boy in the woods
Yes,
that she hangs out with. That's actually an alien. Yeah.
That's why.
How much time do we have? By the way, we have a great opener, but
we have 13 minutes until our
in a different
12
genre.
minutes. 12 minutes
Okay.
till our focus group. But I mean, I feel like we can come back to the prologue, and like we should work on our sort of our overall story arc now that we have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, geez. Well, obviously this military like presence is going to show back up. They're going to be triggered. Like at the midpoint, they will be aware of.
Well, what if it's this? This has to be played up somewhere in a movie somewhere, but. The military guy, let's say he does take in, or whatever we want to call him, alien boy, raises him his whole life. And maybe they're investigating. They're like, since it's this huge discovery, you can have, whole organization basically researching this alien ship for the rest of their life, like, for decades, trying to figure out what this is, where it came from. Maybe there's sort of this B story. Our romance is sort of the A story, these two characters, but the B story is them investigating this alien ship. They eventually discover through, DNA or something. We're getting really sci-fi here, but they figure out that there was actually 3 people on this alien ship. 2 of them have been discovered, but one of them they can't find anything, and they eventually discover that someone is alive from this, and this military. It's basically him protecting his son from this military organization that's trying to find him. Maybe he's sheltering his son a lot. Maybe they could be, high school, right out of high school, or even high school age. Maybe that's still romance. Maybe college age. I don't know. Yeah. So he's protecting his son from this military organization. He knows that if he's,
as long as everybody looks 40, it's okay to do teenagers
exactly
in a movie.
Have you seen the trailer for the musical with Ben Platt? It's like
where he is 80 years old. Yeah,
as a high schooler. Anyways, but maybe there's something about this military guy like sheltering him his entire childhood, but this one friend who's like close friends with their family is like his one friend, this girl, and they grow up together. And as they get into high school, he's like they fall in love, and they want to adventure and do all these things that other people their age are doing, like going on dates and doing all this stuff. But it's just a forbidden love kind of thing where he's not allowed to do it. And we don't have to go this direction. I'm just kind of going through it. And then and there's this military organization who is actively trying to track down this remaining alien that is.
Those 2 storylines, the I'm falling in love and I'm not allowed to, which by the way, she right now is playing in no way into our story. Our story became male centric immediately.
Yeah, totally.
So that's a huge flaw. We got to figure out how to tell the story from her perspective, which is why I feel like she needs to be at the drive-in.
Mm-hmm.
This whole story is best if it's told almost entirely from her perspective. The love storyline, the forbidden love storyline, and the pursuing government agency storyline. This love storyline, some decision that gets made there has to cause, bring attention to the government agency.
Totally.
So where my mind goes is back to that mandate, that wildcard mandate we got about a fresh take on a superhero film. do we pitch them our fresh take on Superman? Because I don't care for Snyder. I'm all about rebooting DC, and we're going to need another reboot within a couple years.
The Spielberg idea. I've always thought Brad Bird would be the perfect Superman director, and he's like, to me, as Spielberg as you can get in the modern
very
era.
Spielbergian, yes. So my thought is, whereas the Snyder Man of Steel, the whole Kevin Costner being like, "Don't save people, it's bad," thing, which by the way, I love Kevin Costner. I'm sorry I did that terrible impression.
Oh man!
Like,
such a weak part of that that
it's
movie.
So much more genuine. Like, no, you can't. Like, it's so much. It means so much more for some reason to me. Like, if he's doing that, and then the thing that he can't not do is save Lois if he goes to high school with Lois, or save whoever this girl is that he's in love with. Like,
yeah.
We're gonna retell them. We would rethink the mythology here entirely.
Are you thinking Lois Lane is our protagonist? Because that could be really, really fun. I actually really love this now.
If we pitch a Lois Lane movie and we basically have Clark whenever we choose to set the film, he has not saved anyone's life. He's followed his
this takes place in Smallville.
Jonathan Kent's orders. Yeah, I mean, oh my God, we just wrote Smallville. Also a show.
We can reimagine it. Yeah.
The thing that he breaks this rule on is for her. Like, and that right there is romance. Mm-hmm. And that's how she then discovers that he's Superman. And that's how that's how the government finds out and comes looking for him.
Dude, I freaking love that.
And what if Lois then, like, what if it was her idea to, like, look, come up with a different thing. Like, you are Clark, but come up with something else that some other persona that you can use to do good for other people. Like, basically, can we have Lois be the, like, career, like, she's like the manager, producer, director of the entire, like, identity of Superman and the whole idea of it.
She's like, "You're Superman." He's like, "Superman." That's it.
Super comma man is the name of the film.
No, I really actually love that. Especially, we have 5 minutes left and we've just made this Superman reboot. I kind of love it. I like the,
but it's Lois Lane. It's about, and we call it Lois and Clark, the new adventures of Superman.
I do love the idea though of us rebooting this with them as childhood friends as well.
Yeah,
because it kind of makes it less of I met her at work and she found out my identity, blah blah blah. It's like she is the one who's encouraging him to become this character, which I really 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 like. And that can be playful as well. We can kind of see almost like if we use Forrest Gump as a comp, where instead of him learning to run, it's like him learning to fly. Like she's helping him, like sort of
fly, Clark, fly, yeah,
fly. But
what? If it's not Superman, that's incredibly like out of context. It's a weird thing to just demand and expect of a person.
Okay, so I'm thinking with our 3 minutes remaining, playful romance, fans of Spielberg, our big water cooler moment. We should probably just come up with that real quick.
Crap!
While we have a few minutes left.
Crap!
I don't want to kill Lois or Superman at the end of this.
No, Jonathan's gonna die. We expect that. We can't. No one else die.
What was the exact mandate? Did you write that down? We just wrote down water cooler moment. I think it was something shocking, right?
Hey, the water cooler moment is that she dies. Like,
you think Lois dies? That's big. That's like because she's our protagonist.
But if she is the one who orchestrates Superman's entire, like if he basically we set it up to where he would have never become Superman without her.
Yeah.
And then she dies by choice somehow.
She has to maybe sacrifice herself for him. I don't like the idea of him.
Yeah, I don't like it. But I
don't like the idea of him becoming like sort of embracing Superman at the end of this movie. And it's this hopeful thing, and Lois has just died.
Okay, then can we kill him somehow and have her continue? Can we leave it in some way to where she's able to, like? Man, I don't know. They probably already did. Anything we think of, they probably already did in a comic somewhere.
I mean, I guess she could die. I'm not crazy about killing our female protagonist
Me either.
and letting the Superman live.
The studio's not going to be happy with us doing well, I mean, it can be a one-off like Joker was.
That's true. Sort of a standalone.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we pitch it as that, not as like a franchise film, like this is a low budget.
And I think it could still be playful and have a sad ending. I think, if the whole movie's playful, you can still come away with a playful tone. Still have the, classic Romeo and Juliet ending. They both die?
Honestly, no, man. He can die. She can't. That's Titanic, dude. Like, he can die, but she can't.
Okay.
And if we're doing a Superman one-off, let's not let Superman live.
Superman dies.
Kill the man.
Yeah. Because, I mean, especially with how it starts, I think if we're seeing, especially if it's sort of first person through Lois's perspective, voiceover at the beginning, she's like, I'm going to tell you a story about, whatever. Because she's a reporter, like it could be like sort of
damn it, that's so good. Yes, and like we can see the beginnings of her being like a reporter. And if it's modern times, man, she's like a podcast. She has her own podcast or her own like.
Imagine it ends, similar to what was it, Saving Private Ryan, where it's like her and like she's not gonna be old, obviously, but her as a fully grown adult. And it ends with...
We can get that old man to play her as an adult.
No, but have like fully grown Lois Lane as we know her as an adult, sort of telling a story on a podcast or something. She morphs. But I actually really like that. And the whole thing could sort of be like first person through her perspective.
I kind of love that, yeah.
Time to pitch your movie.
I guess it's time to pitch our movie, Seth. Are you ready?
Right. Tattletale.
He's taken down aliens with Harrison Ford and Daniel Craig, been assassinated in cold blood by Benicio del Toro, taken down drug cartels on Netflix, and you can see him shooting guns in the Old West alongside Regina King, Idris Elba, and Jonathan Majors, and The Harder They Fall on Netflix. Coming soon. My friends, this is Julio Cedillo here on the Writers Room Game Show. Thank you for being here, my friend.
Welcome, Julio.
Hey, thanks, guys. You guys are beautiful.
I wish that this was a video podcast so everyone could see us.
You could see how wrong Julio is.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. I am so happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're going to pitch you.
That sounded dry. Hang on. That sounded dry. I am so happy to be here, guys. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
There it is.
They can hear the cheer in your voice.
All right, now let's just ground yourself a bit. I think it was a little too strong, comes off too strong, but we're good. We got options there. We don't need to roll with any more takes. We're gonna let's see.
I think you're right. I think the first one was good. The one where I'm bored.
Yeah, just one where you want to die. Ryan. Okay, do we want to dive in? How we want to pitch?
Let's dive in. I'll start it. Seth, you jump in. We're not going to reveal, Julio, our assignment. We just want to give it to you straight and hope you enjoy this wonderful pitch. But our movie starts at a drive-in movie in a small town in the 70s. Let's say it takes place in the 70s. There's a great improv there.
Like that. I like that.
There's a young couple in a car watching a movie, talking.
I've seen that before. Keep going.
Talking about sort of their life and how we sort of hear some exposition about how they would love to have kids. This is coming off a lot.
Wow, that sounds like a Hallmark movie, but keep going.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me back up. Should we tell them we'd like to pitch? Well, no, Ryan, you keep going. I'm sorry. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, it's okay. We've gotten some wild cards thrown at us, Julio. But anyways, they're watching this movie. It's an alien invasion movie there on the big screen when suddenly there's a spark in the sky. Some people, say, what was that? It disappears.
Yeah.
Of course, on our movie screen, we've got classic alien invasion. There's lots of sounds as if aliens were coming down to Earth. When suddenly there's a big crash. An alien ship has actually crash landed at
through the screen. Comes right through the screen.
Oh, through the screen.
Through the screen. As if it was a part of the movie. It's crash landed here at the movies. Everyone's.
But that's the 70s. That's the 70s, right? So that'd be kind of pretty crazy either way. That's awesome.
Pandemonium everywhere.
Totally.
People are running. Very Spielbergian. We sort of, have a big classical wonder. We go back to the projector. We see the projector flickering. We hear the sounds. And from the
while there's chaos going on in the beyond the glass.
Totally. And there's a big there's a door open on this alien ship, and out from the alien ship comes a child, a human, what looks to be a humanoid child.
And there's chaos and chaos going on. No one notices this kid except this one little girl who's roughly the same age as this little boy.
Has a Superman vibe to it already. I don't
totally has a Superman vibe to it.
Superman vibe.
And so this little boy kind of crawls out of the ship, and this little girl is the only one who sees him. Yeah. And she brings and calls attention to him, and this family, this couple that we've met and heard them talking in the car before, they find this little boy and essentially decide they put two and two together and realize as the police are showing up and as this military convoy starts arriving that this little boy is safer with them than he is. We're not sure yet what the mechanics of the scene are, but we somehow present no one, not even the audience, wants to see this little boy go with this they don't want to hand this little boy over to the military. That just seems
doesn't sit right.
Wrong, Russ. So we feel comfortable with this family.
And this family,
taking this little boy home.
The Kent family takes this boy in, and
it's Jonathan and Martha Kent, 100%. And that little girl was Lois Lane. So we are pitching to you today a fresh take on Superman, but this is a Lois Lane film. This is a film from the perspective of Lois Lane. We are rethinking the mythology of Superman with this film.
Yeah.
It's a standalone picture. A lot of these modern comic book movies have to be interconnected, and this is just a standalone Lois Lane film.
Oh, just Lois Lane?
It's a story about Lois Lane and Superman. It is
Superman will be he'll be a part.
Oh yeah,
big time.
It's essentially telling the story what did we compare it to, Ryan? It was
think of what did we compare it to? Think of
we changed it a lot.
We're seeing Lois and Clark grow up together. Their families are friends, and think of it like Forrest and Jenny. They're growing up, they're best friends.
Oh, right.
But as they grow up, Lois, we're seeing it through sort of her perspective, and Clark, of course, is going through a lot of changes, getting powers. Lois is sort of there to help him manage those and sort of master those abilities while also being sort of his one friend that can. That kind of know the truth.
That knows all of
knows
this.
the truth about him.
And it's sounding to me it sounds appealing because it seems to me that if you can make Lois really she's the thrust of the whole thing. In other words, she's the mature one.
Yes,
and she's the one she's basically having to make all the mature choices. As Clark is trying to understand his own powers and his feelings, because they all conflict one another, right? But it is kind of interesting to see it through a woman's perspective, and then also trying to avoid all the trappings, because typically, obviously, what we've seen with Lois Lane, I mean, it's kind of a stereotypical role, but to ground it in a more realistic way is pretty interesting, because then he's kind of a backdrop. He'll pop in every now and then, or it is a real relationship with real issues, and then he has to rise to the occasion. But the reality is he's been able to do that because of a stronger relationship. That's interesting. I don't know if the typical person who loves these sort of superhero or comic type films might appreciate that, because they probably want more action. But
yeah, we're really
I like it. I like it because it takes it to a whole other level, honestly.
Yeah, we're really going for more of the people that love romance movies than superhero movies.
Because the whole idea is we're telling a story of two people who really can't fully be together, and in the same way that this person can't fully be themselves. Clark cannot fully be himself. and he can only fully be himself with her. And so in public, they're never like, he's never able to really fully be. He's still this person who has one foot in the outside, in the real world, and the other foot in hiding for a lot of his life. And, Man of Steel did that really interesting idea of having Jonathan Kent be very heavy-handed about like don't bring attention to yourself. You're gonna this is to keep you safe and to keep the world safe. Suppress your powers, et cetera, et cetera. The idea of having not only the Kents but also Lois be these voices in his life of saying you have to protect yourself and you have to keep this stuff in check. And then we think that the most interesting way for Clark to break the rules and actually use his powers openly in public to save somebody, and in effect call attention to himself and bring the military to Smallville.
Yeah, there's always a looming threat of this military threat is
constantly trying to find him because they know there's a missing life form from that ship. And so we believe that the most meaningful reason for Clark to break this one rule and use his powers in public is to save Lois. And so we believe it's that act of love, that act of that it's her. She's the one person that he would actually end up breaking that rule, showing his powers in public, saving her life in some way, and then suddenly that brings the military to Smallville looking for him. And the story and the thing about our story is we really, really want to leave the audience kind of shaken and talking about the film.
Yeah.
And we think, again, the story is so much about Lois. We want to show Lois really is this, she orchestrates and is the one who kind of gives Clark all the ideas that he needs to be Superman. Our idea is Superman would not exist without this version of Lois Lane in the story. But Superman has got to die at the end of this thing. We just feel that at the end, there's got to be some kind of act of self-sacrifice that Superman does and saves Lois. We thought about,
we threw around the idea of possibly killing Lois, and we just couldn't do it.
But we just like the idea of
that for me is more appealing.
Lois dying?
Yes, because she's mortal. You know what I mean? Because I can't see Superman dying that way. I don't know. I'm such a big fan of Superman anyway. And I feel like part of his growth is loss,
True.
And I feel well, that's just my opinion, obviously. I mean,
you're right. Actually, you're right. It just needs to be her choice. Yeah. We just feel it needs to be her choice.
It has to be her choice because, it's kind of like this kind of love where you have this intense love for one another, but you realize it's not functional. It's not functional. And that's the beauty of that kind of, because in movies you're looking for conflict, you're looking for resolution, and so it seems to me like you want the audience to understand, to have some idea of that kind of intensity of love, and then it's because it's formulaic in many ways, but it can still be very creative and compelling, and I feel like part of those love stories is just running in the rain and wanting to get there to say I love you. I never wanted to be without you, but then you get run over, by a bus.
Yeah,
totally.
It's so true.
My thing is that's reality. It's like when somebody, it's here. Look, and not to go into this morbid way of looking at things, but I know one person who was changing their tire. They pulled over to go help. It was a casting director here in Texas. He pulled over to help his wife because she called him because she had a flat tire. Mm-hmm. He went over to go fix her tire. Okay. He was always working hard. He wasn't coming home early, because he's a casting director. He got run over and killed while changing their tire. And his little daughter and his wife saw this happen.
Oh no.
And they loved each other, but they didn't spend enough time with each other. That was the constant complaint, that they just didn't have enough time. And let me tell you, when you're changing the tire and cars are just zooming by and no one stops, and then you get hit, there's still cars driving by trying to figure out what's going on. The world is still spinning inside of that chaos. And so I think with Lois, Lois could end up in a situation where she may not even be sacrificing something there. It's just an event that
Just happens.
happens,
I
and
mean,
he
that's
has to
shocking.
live with that. It's shocking, but it's something that he has to live with, because that's part of the curse of being a superhero. You know, that's why I love Spider-Man. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
with great powers comes great responsibility. Well, yeah, that pretty much appeals to every superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like,
Speak my language,
you can only
Julio.
rewrite it so much, because then, we're dealing with mortal human beings that don't have a long lifespan, and superheroes, they're kind of like cats. They have more than one life. So, to kill off Superman, that's a big deal. I mean, I don't know if that's the kind of love that, one can withstand, loss and love that one can withstand. So that's just my opinion.
No, that was really great.
Lois.
That's a really, really good argument.
Great
Yeah,
argument.
I think Lois is someone who's been trying to teach him how to get on her level emotionally. He has everything else, and he's figuring it out. But it seems to me like she's trying to get him to just be present and to understand what it's like to be mortal, and not to revert to feeling like he has to save the world, because that's part of his problem, right? And so it seems to me like it's just getting through the randomness of just being mortal.
Yeah.
All the mundaneness, all the dumb crap that we have to deal with, he has to learn what that all means, but he can't.
Can I pitch you the original, our original ending of this?
Yes.
Because I think your argument is awesome, and I think that's probably the true Superman sort of,
By the way, Ryan, we can still do our original ending. She just leaves it behind, but go ahead.
Totally, yeah. So in our version of this story, Lois Lane, as an adult, you can hear her voiceover throughout the entire picture.
Yeah.
Sort of first-person narration throughout the story. Superman dies, and then we end with, because she's a reporter, and this alternate reality version, it's 2021, and she's actually recording a podcast and like telling the story of her life as a reporter. And it's basically, to us, it was Superman. What he's learning is the power of sacrifice and sacrificing himself, even though he has all this power. The true human thing is to sacrifice for the people you love. And so he sacrificed himself so that she can live a normal human life, knowing that he is sort of almost like he was destined to join his parents.
Wow.
By the time he landed here on Earth. And so it's sort of that, but it's still trying to leave with like Lois being able to live her life, the rest of her life, and not being cursed. She's more cursed by losing the one she loves, as opposed to dying herself and having Superman have to live on.
Well, you know what? That's also very compelling.
And that was sort of our idea of it being a standalone, because obviously, and in the real world, it's like Superman's going to live on because he's got a whole franchise, and like.
Well, that's true. It's kind of tied into that
when you're looking
it's set up that way.
Yeah. But anyways, that was sort of our original pitch, but and that Seth, would you want to reveal our assignment to Julio to give him?
Well, first we need to ask him, like, hey, so would you see this movie?
Yeah. I mean, the straight up answer is yes. I mean, I'd see it because it's a superhero film. I mean, I love these kinds of movies. They're tied into, they're it's kind of a mythology. There's Shakespeare in there. There's action. There's love. There's comedy. It has so much. That's why these franchises do so well, right? I can forgive even a bad like superhero film in the same way that I can forgive a film about werewolves. I just love werewolves, right? So, but I love this. I love the concept that you guys are coming up with, because if you can ground it in really phenomenal acting and not rely on all the CGI as much, it's almost like I would love to see a superhero film where the CGI is minimal and it doesn't have to be as big, and we're dealing with more. It's very methodical when they do the CGI. It's the same way with Sicario when you have these planes flying into the airport, and you believe that these huge military airplanes are flying in, but the reality was, no, there were never any airplanes because they couldn't afford them. So they fly them in. In other words, the same way they crossed into Mexico, no, you couldn't do that. So even the Suburbans, the SUVs driving into Mexico, overhead shot, yeah, you couldn't do that because government bureaucracy. I want to see a film like that where Iñárritu would be able to direct a superhero film, right? Like the film he did about one, but to add more of that kind of superhero quality, but ground it in such a way that it is very, very dramatic with contemporary issues and contemporary themes with relationships, and where it's truly a love story and you feel it. And then on top of it, you're a superhero. And in the same way you said, if Superman, I would love to see Superman want to be back with his family. I want him longing for his family and the pain of not having family. And then there's a darker side to that awakens because, this world will never learn. It continues to self-inflict harm, right? These are phenomenal ideas, and your story to me is very compelling. I'll be honest with you, I think either of those two would work as long as the tone is about that love loss and self-sacrifice. Right?
Yeah, totally.
I think either of those two things would work. So I personally will say yes. I would definitely watch either of those.
All right. Second question. Would you recommend this movie to a friend, Julio?
I would recommend this to a friend, yes, if those particular characteristics in tone and way of style of filming, I would recommend it wholeheartedly. And I'd be at the front of the freaking movie theater with popcorn in hand, with a buttload of people in that theater, because that's the way it should be at this point.
Julio, I like you quite a lot.
Man, I told you guys, you hit the nerve, man. You hit the nerve.
Love it, Julio. Well, looks like we might have won that episode of Writers Room Game Show. Julio, I want to tell you after the fact, our assignment was a romance picture. It needed to be playful, which we tried to hit on the young growing up sort of. It got pretty real at the end there. And then fans
I don't know if you got the playful. No. The playful you can work still through that.
We're playful with mythology, but I don't know necessarily with tone.
Fans of Spielberg was our demographic, so we tried to hit on that sort of alien.
That's how we got to aliens.
Yeah. And then we needed like a big water cooler moment, like a big surprise, something that will shock people, which was Superman's death. We didn't land on Superman until halfway through. We got our wild card mandate, which asked for it to be a fresh take on a superhero movie.
And we were like, well, this already feels very Superman-y. What if we just made it a Superman thing? And that's how it became that.
We literally said, let's do Superman 8 minutes before we called you.
You know what? As it unfolded, I mean, look, one of those other kind of the images that came to mind when, there's always a meteor and it lands and it creates a big crater in the earth and something comes out of it. We've seen it a lot. Jeff Bridges did it in Starman. If you remember the movie Starman.
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges was in that. You have the same thing in Men in Black with Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
He's all discombobulated. Well, actually, he inhabits the body of a farmer. Right. So
that's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So the beauty about these sort of films is it's okay to steal because it's still fascinating. It's still exciting to see that, especially now with all the UFO sightings by the military today. Like, it's even more so of a reason to play with those ideas, right? But
love it.
That's awesome. But I like the fact that you took it on and you decided to make a Superman, because if you didn't, somebody would start comparing it to Superman somehow. I mean, that's a trap.
Like you did. Yes. Like you did before we even said anything.
Before we even said it, you were like, yeah, Superman. The Writers Room Game Show with Seth Worley and me, Ryan Polly. Executive produced by Grant Wakefield at Weekend Video and Ann Fogerty at Plot Devices. Our art is by the incomparable Meg Lewis, and our incredible music is by Ben Worley. The Writers Room Game Show is a Weekend Video production in association with Plot Devices. Learn more about Weekend Video at weekend.video, and don't forget to check out writersroomgame.show to listen to all of our episodes and keep in touch. And while you're at it, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the show out a lot. See you on the next one. Whoa, this song is cool, said everyone. Well, that's because this music and all the other music under ads in this episode was provided by MusicBed. They've got an insane selection of music that filmmakers and creators can license, and Seth and I personally use them on a ton of our personal and commercial projects. Anyways, check out the link in the show notes to start your subscription and get unlimited music for your next masterpiece.
This episode of the Writers Room Game Show is sponsored by Plot Devices. It's also over. This is the end. All that's left of this is a post-roll ad from Plot Devices, creators of the Story Clock Workbook. Did you know that over 84% of podcasts end with sponsor ads like this? I had no idea. Mostly because I just made that number up. If you like to make stuff up, the Story Clock Workbook is for you. It's built for taking your cool story ideas and whittling them down into actual stories. The kind of stories you can tell over a campfire to your adolescent friends as a submission for their approval after throwing a mysterious and seemingly flammable powder into the fire with no sign of adult supervision anywhere. Or, other kinds of stories. The point is, go to plotdevices.co and purchase 27 Story Clock workbooks. And don't be friends with anyone who requires that you scare them in order to win their approval.